I had just recently moved into a brand new house. After living in various apartments during the better part of a decade, I was finally ready to get a place of my very own. I had spent the last 2 years saving up my money just to make that a reality. During the last few months of my search, I had browsed multiple property listings, as well as contacting a plethora of realtor companies. I had looked at probably 50 houses in the area I had specified, but sadly, none of them seemed to feel right. Feeling defeated, I was almost ready to once again resign another year of my life to living in an apartment. However, before that happened, I found a recently posted listing which I hadn't seen before. After making a few calls and taking a look at the place itself, I was sold. Was it my dream house? No, of course not. Was it in my preferred area? Nope. But it was quite a bit lower than my budget and it seemed nice enough. It was a standard 3-bedroom house with a rather nice front and backyard. It wasn't anything special, but I truly didn't need special. I just wanted a place to call my own. I had finalized all the paperwork about a month and a half before my apartment lease was up. This was a major plus, as it would give me a lot of time to arrange movers and not have to rush. I'm not sure if you ever had to move out of a place at the last minute before, but it sure isn't fun. During the end of that month, I had hired some movers because screw lugging around all that stuff I've accumulated over the years myself. The movers were very efficient in packing and loading everything. Within the span of a few hours, everything had been loaded onto a truck, and we were on our way to my new house. I had arrived first, and when I pulled up to the house, I had noticed something strange. My neighbor across the street had a couple of police cars in their driveway. As I stood outside and waited for the truck to arrive, I saw who I assumed to be the homeowner, as well as a few other neighbors who had wandered outside. I casually sauntered over to a nearby neighbor. After introducing myself, I asked what had happened. They told me that apparently someone had broken into their house and had taken quite a few expensive items. When I heard this, I was shocked. I knew I wasn't in the best part of town, but I wasn't anywhere near the worst part of town either. I thanked the neighbor for telling me just as the moving truck was pulling up. For the remainder of the day, the movers unloaded my things and set up my larger furniture before leaving. I had never considered home security before. I always thought door and window locks were enough to keep out any would-be intruders, but after speaking with the other neighbors, that seemed to be the case for the ones across the street. I guess if somebody is desperate enough, locks won't truly keep them out. While I was still chatting with one of the neighbors, they mentioned in passing that they were thankful for their home security system, and that's what gave me the idea in the first place. Over the next few days, I had researched quite a bit, and I found that purchasing and installing your own security is quite simple. I had gone to my local electronics store, and after browsing for a few minutes, I found exactly what I needed. It was a home security kit that came with multiple door and window sensors, an alarm pad, as well as one of those nifty doorbell video cameras. I had heard about these before, but like I mentioned, home security wasn't at the top of my mind, especially since I lived in apartments for 10 years. I made my purchase and quickly rushed home to set up my new gadgets. The sensors and keypad were easy enough to set up. The doorbell itself, though, took a bit of time, but after about an hour or so, I finally managed to get everything in place. The way the doorbell camera worked was that anytime anyone would approach my door, a motion sensor would activate the camera. The camera would then send a live feed to my smartphone where I could observe from the safety of my house. If someone rang the doorbell, I could connect to it and speak with the person directly through my phone. Technology never ceases to amaze me. So, after all that had been set up, I continued on with my life. Everything progressed normally as it always had. I'd get up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, relax, go to bed, and repeat. Not a very amazing or interesting life, I'll grant you, but it's enough for me. Over the last month, however, something strange started happening with my new doorbell camera. I had 2 days off from work, and during this time, I tend to stay up later than usual watching TV and movies. It was already nearing 2 a.m. when my phone buzzed on the nightstand nearby. I glanced over at it, wondering who in the hell could be texting me at a time like this. I picked up my phone and unlocked it. An alert greeted me, saying that motion had been detected at my front door. I opened the app and the video feed filled the screen. I stared for a few minutes trying to discern what had caused the alert, but I couldn't see anything. I thought perhaps a bug had crawled or flown near the sensor and set it off. I closed the app and continued watching TV until I eventually fell asleep. A couple days passed without issue until once again I was lying there mindlessly watching a rerun on TV when my phone buzzed lightly. I picked it up and glanced down once more. That same alert appeared. I noted that the time was fairly close to the previous alert. I opened the app and looked at the tiny screen. Nothing. I was starting to think that this device was somehow faulty or that I had installed it incorrectly. I closed the app and ignored it, deciding to inspect the device the following day. And that's precisely what I did. After I had gotten up and had gotten ready for the day, I went out and stood in front of my doorbell camera. The moment I did, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, opened the app, and I could see myself standing there staring at my phone. Everything seemed to be functioning properly. I once again tried to rationalize it as some type of insect or possibly a car driving by that set it off. These occurrences happened quite frequently during the month, always happening at the very early hours of the morning. Most of the time I'd sleep through my alerts, but I'd still find them waiting for me when I'd wake up, letting me know that something had occurred. Then, a couple of days ago, it happened once more. I was in the process of making myself a late-night snack in the kitchen when my phone resting on the counter buzzed to life. I stopped making my sandwich to look at my phone. "Motion has been detected at your front door," it read. I sighed for a bit when I decided to physically check my front door. I walked through my kitchen, steadily making my way towards the door. The way my front door is set up, it has decorative glass adorning the sides. Not really the best for looking through, but it was something. As I approached, I leaned against my wall and looked out towards my porch light illuminating the surrounding area faintly. As I glanced over, however, I saw something that made me seize with anxiety. Somebody was standing on my front porch. From the angle with which the glass windows were set, it was hard to tell who exactly it was, but they stood on the other side of the door as clear as day. This took me by surprise, and I quickly pulled my phone out and opened the app. I was thinking maybe this was a different occurrence from all the previous times. However, as the video feed opened on my phone and I glanced down, I felt my breath become shallow. Through the camera, there was nothing on the other side of my door. I quickly checked once again through the windows just to be sure, and whoever it was still standing on the other side of my door. This wasn't possible as the way my camera was set up. It captures everything in front of my front door. Yet the feed was blank. I thought about opening my door briefly, but decided against it. I didn't know who or what was on the other side, and I wasn't eager to find out. I simply waited near the door, occasionally peeking out of the window to check if they were still there. Whoever it was stood outside of my door for 2.5 hours. Then, in between one of the times I went to check, the dark figure was gone. I still didn't open my door, regardless of the coast being clear. This event happened again last night. I was sitting there watching TV when my phone alerted me, and I quietly made my way over to the door. It was back. and when I checked my phone, nothing was there once again. However, something happened which shook me to my very core. Something which is making me consider moving back into an apartment again. As I was standing on the other side of the door, a voice came through my camera feed on my phone. It was a deep, otherworldly voice that I didn't recognize. The voice said,